Okay. Hello, welcome everybody to another VAWMA podcast. Woo! Cheers! The crowd goes wild, or something. Um, my name is James. Hello. And joining us today as my co-host and wonderful friend is...
Rebecca, of course.
Yay!
Yay!
Hey! The good
Yay!
times. Feels good. Reminds me, I haven't put my phone on silent yet,
Oh,
so if,
the video is working. Oh, yeah, I remembered that actually. I'm very proud of myself today.
the good times. Boom. Alright, I'm on silent. I hope there's
We
no
can do it.
emergencies. Hey, so,
Yay!
welcome everybody to another exciting VAWMA podcast. We're just a couple of yahoos that have forgotten to turn the intro music off. So let me take care of that before I get too far along. But we're also a couple of neuroatypicals that have come across an idea that is intriguing to us, and certainly is intriguing to me. It's been something that has been growing inside of my brain for a number of years now, and every time I get an opportunity to share it with people, I do, and which has brought us to what we're doing here today, which is what I'm hoping to share this idea with as many people as possible. As we grow and as we have something to present to the world. Know what I mean? Oh,
Yep. And it just happened to be the same thing that I've been thinking about for years.
interesting, right? I
I
think I
mean, not
think,
exactly the same details, but yeah,
but I
pretty
think
much.
that's just it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do they call it? It's like the zeitgeist, right? There's like the spirit of an age, where there's like the sort of the mnemonics, the memes that are going around, the mind viruses, so to
Yeah.
speak, the ideas that are carried from person to person,
And
and
because
everybody,
we need to do this. We as
yeah.
everybody, we need to live like this.
Mm.
Everyone.
And this, let's define this because this can be such. Uh, um,
Well,
uh,
yeah. You want to
but well, like for
go?
for
Mom.
our, yeah, it's the VAWMA idea is kind of what we're going for with this, which it's sort of, for my money, it's building on the idea that us as human beings evolved in close, tight knit communities of like hundreds at most of people, for tens of thousands of years, maybe hundreds of thousands of years, maybe millions of years, depending on how far back you want to incorporate our human ancestry. And the thing that allowed us to not just survive but to thrive is the fact that we were able to come together and cooperate, and I want to build on that principle. That's something that's deeply ingrained inside of all of us. That's something that every human being has access to as their birthright. By virtue of being born a human being, we were designed to cooperate together. We were designed to do great things together. And to facilitate this in a way that makes sure that everybody who's involved has as much a equal share of the pie as the person standing next to them, so that we don't end up in a situation where one person is hoarding all the pie while the rest of us are getting like slivers of nothing. You know, in order to avoid that end result, we've come up with an idea that we're calling VAWMA, which of course is an acronym, the Voluntary Association for Work and Mutual Aid. And it's for those who are just joining us for the very first time. This is basically a cooperative. If you're unfamiliar with what a cooperative is, it is a form of a legal structure for a business. It's like a limited liability company, so the people that are involved have limited liability to themselves individually for being involved in this. If you get involved, no one's going to come after your house
Liability
or your
meaning
car.
you can be sued and
Thank
held
you. Yep.
liable and then have to pay whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. And and so cooperative is a form of structure of one of those kind of companies. Only the difference being that is how voting is structured. It's one member, one vote. You'll never be in a situation where one person has more votes than anybody else. Um, you'll never in a cooperative. It'll always be one person, one vote. And so that I think at its most foundational structure is kind of what sets a cooperative apart from the more traditional forms of business organization that we have in our society, where you get as many votes as you can purchase shares. So if you are able to invest more money into a company, you have more voting power. And if you have more voting power, you have more control. And if you have more control, then you get more of the money that it makes. It's how it works. Um, in a cooperative, because it's one person, one vote, the way we distribute the profits that we make are set up a little bit different. We use something called patronage as one of the tools that we use to redistribute any wealth that we generate. Now, that having been said, the wealth that we generate is something that we count after we've done all the business, after we've covered all the expenses. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we do as we're setting up VAWMA is we bake into our ethos, our way of doing things, um, uh, a commitment to a living wage. So that everybody who's working at a VAWMA business is making enough money to pay their rent, to buy groceries, and to set a little bit aside for, things that are important to them. Things that they want to invest in, be them experiences, be them educations, be them whatever they can be. But the point is to create or to give people that are working at our business, and assuming our business is doing well, to make sure that we're investing in the people that are causing that business to do well. So up front we make sure that everybody who's working with us gets a living wage, and then from there, when we make a profit, then that profit is then distributed using the patronage thing. So
Yeah.
that's
So, is it my turn?
sure. Sorry.
I was gonna say, this is, yeah, we've been talking about this for a while, and I love that explanation. I really love it. It Because I feel like what it is just what we're doing is taking. I kind of saw as you were speaking that we're taking the way we used to do things, the way humans work best together when we all have a say and everybody looks after everybody. Way back, I read about archaeological studies that were showing that when the Bible, the stuff about helping the poor and welcoming the slaves that had escaped and not enslaving them and that kind of thing, around that time, it shows that people really didn't have, there wasn't a huge house here and a little house here and lots of gold in the
Mm.
huge house, and that you can tell by the archaeology how things were. And they had actually, archaeologically, it shows that somewhere there was people in Israel who had this place where everyone was equal, everyone had the same size house,
Mm-hmm.
everyone had enough, and they could actually show, and I can't remember how, this was a little while ago, but they could actually show that they were welcoming people, who had escaped from other places and needed shelter, and that kind of thing. And then, through history, we just see, like, recently, I always think in historical terms, so recently is like 100 years ago. Um,
True.
so, so recently, with the Depression, everybody was desperate. Everybody, didn't have enough money, and they figured out a way to make sure that the poor were taken care of. And this is fundamentally what you need. If you want to have a good economy, if you want to have everyone succeed, you need to look after everyone. Um, and how this relates to VAWMA is we are taking the way that we used to work and making sort of a legal document out of it,
Mm-hmm.
making a modern thing out of it with our modern bylaws that we're going to write,
Mm-hmm.
and making it solid, like here on the ground we're going to make this happen with our modern laws, that we can do this um, in modern times.
Yeah, like have that legal framework in place,
Mhm.
and make sure that everybody knows up front what the rules are, so that
Yeah,
nobody's caught unaware. We just spell it out. Hey, if you want to thrive within this, structure, this is how you do it.
yeah.
And when you do X, then you can expect to get Z as a result. Or A leads to B leads to C. And the beautiful thing is, at least in Canada, we've already got frameworks in place that allow for us to incorporate as a cooperative, and so we
There
don't
are
have to
other
reinvent the wheel.
cooperatives. It's real. People want this. The people want this. This is what the people want. Really, if you can get them to talk about, how, think about how they really want to live. This is how people want to live, is to
Hmm.
have that cooperation that we were talking about last week, and helping each other, getting not having one guy with he's a bazillionaire who lives far away.
Right,
Why? Who thought
right.
that would work?
I
Who
mean, I,
thought that would work?
I mean, we were talking a little bit last week about what happened with the Smile cookies, and how they were advertising they raised $19 million over the course of a week just
Yeah,
on the sales of like cookies alone.
just the cookies.
And I'm thinking like on every other week, the other 51 weeks out of the year, that $19 million, probably a little bit less because it's not a charity drive. But still, I would imagine that they make a significant amount of money, probably in the millions of dollars, on cookie sales alone. How much of that is being extracted out of each local economy? You know
But
that,
when you don't
and
pay fair wages, taxpayers make up the difference of the
mm,
sickness, of the, desperation. If they lose their house, yeah, the company doesn't pay the fair wages. The taxpayers have to fix the problem.
right, and they won't because we taxpayers consistently elect people whose idea of creating solutions is to 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 get rid of the possibility of
To
like
pay
doing
anyway.
anything. Yeah.
You have to pay.
Mm,
It might look like we just, let someone go be homeless. Oh, well, then we don't have to pay for them. That's free. Actually, that's a lot more expensive
yeah.
than just buying them a damn home.
Yeah. Oh, and like eventually, to bring it to VAWMA, briefly, like the hope and plan is by the time we get to VAWMA 4.0, or somewhere down the line, and we have the ability to create our own credit union or to start a credit union, one of the primary objectives of that should be to invest in cooperative housing like crazy, and to invest in land, to create even a VAWMA housing cooperative network where it's like everybody pays the same amount based on square footage, and you just pay VAWMA, to live at a place, and like when a place opens up, you get access to that place that fits your needs, or if there's not one already, then we start investing in building until everybody gets a house, everybody gets a place to live. Yeah, it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be an individual bungalow, but like we can build like low income housing apartments and stuff. We can build tiny villages. We could build we can do whatever it is that we need as a community. Um, and when we get there, we'll have a much better idea as to what we'll need. And the point of it all is that we're going to be running all these different businesses with the intention of part of the money that we make is going to go back into the community in the form of loans for people to go and create cooperative housing networks or be a part of the VAWMA housing cooperative. Um, but I mean that's down the road when we've got multiple businesses and we're making tens of or hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and we're trying to figure out what we can do with all this money, which would
So
be a
your
nice problem to deal with.
because your vision is the cooperative of cooperative collection of cooperatives
Hmm.
that. So we have some rules, like we were talking about, some rules to help it work this way that will work with a whole bunch of different businesses and help them work together. And we were talking about maybe talking about the cafe. Is that
Yeah,
it today? To
yeah.
talk
So
about the
let's.
example, because this is the one that everybody um, likes to start with. It's a really good sort of first business.
Well,
Um,
yeah. So Cafe Libre and the first business idea, the reality is it's the food industry, the restaurant industry,
hmm.
which is notoriously risky. And it is potentially risky. It takes from everything that I've heard from chatting with people from who have been in the industry. It seems to be like the turnaround time seems to be around 7 years from initial investment before you break even,
Hmm.
which is a long period of time, and with food prices fluctuating and people's access to disposable income that they can put towards eating out becoming more and more precarious. Maybe restaurants are notoriously, like I said, risky. But that having been said, with the great risk becomes the possibility of a great return.
Hmm.
And I think with uh, something has presented itself here in our local area here, where there is a vacant building, has been vacant for years, and they want what is quite possibly an unreasonable amount of money for square footage on the lease. At least for this part of the world, it's high compared to other places, or at least it has been.
Okay.
Um, and But it's in the heart of a very large population center
Hmm.
that, to my knowledge, does not. It has. There is a Tim Hortons within walking distance of the area, so they would be our main rival. But I mean, that's kind of the point. I want to kind of be a rival of the chain coffee shops, but with like a fair trade, ethical alternative. I want to have a drive-through so that I can, put coffees and trade people's mugs on their way to the site for the day.
And
And
it might be sort of a different thing than Tim Hortons. Like,
it
eh,
absolutely 100% is going to be, well, in that it'll be a place where I feel like we're going to, if I have anything to do with it, be putting feelers out into the neighborhoods around us, and trying to invite people into our space in order to make it their own and build intentional community, make it a community hub, where there are uh, there are mutual aid gatherings, where there are potlucks, where we, open up our kitchen, to the community and let it become like a community kitchen rather than it being a for-profit, trying to make money off things there, which I know like seems counterintuitive, as a business model, but the point of the matter is, like, if we take 2 hours out of a week where we say, okay, for these 2 hours, we're not going to be doing this for the profit motive. And for the rest of the week, though, we are going to be unapologetically, making money so that we can have this space, so that we can, for those 2 hours a week, have that space for people to come, or whatever it is, but also, like, become a hub for other aspects of what we can do. I know I'm supposed to stick to Cafe Libre today, but like every time I think of Cafe Libre, the next thing I think of is like, well, we're going to need a way to get people to Cafe Libre. So the next thing, of course, is we create the VAWMA cooperative cab company, and kind of run it like an Uber. But a worker-owned Uber, where our drivers get paid a living wage, and we just, and then Cafe Libre becomes like a hub for, like, if you want a taxi, whatever, you just go to Cafe Libre and there will be at least one or two cabs sitting out front, and we'll have like a fleet of things going on there, and it'll all be in design to basically get people to Cafe Libre and or other VAWMA businesses, because, like, again, like you said before, or like this is about not just having a coffee shop on the corner of a busy corner near a high school, surrounded by apartment buildings and neighborhoods, and foot traffic is what I'm thinking. I look at the location of where Cafe Libre could go, and I just think there's so much foot traffic, and we can capitalize on that. We can make use of the foot traffic, and we can bring people into our establishment. And I don't know, like I
mean, Tim Hortons doesn't have game nights.
They don't, and
they don't.
We would have a games library.
There you go.
Yeah, 100%. We'd have
I'm
a board game
not
library.
sure that it would even be the same clientele. It might even bring out different people.
Oh, very different people. I think, like, for me, it makes sense that we would have, like, a grill, like a short order kitchen, so that we can make food. And if we're going to have, like, short order food, we might as well do breakfast. And if we're going to do breakfasts, we might as well try and get every single retiree, senior citizen, and tradesperson in the area to come to our place, first thing in the morning. Nobody's open at 6 a.m. Tradespeople need to be at the work site by 7:30 in a lot of cases. So if they want to have a nice, proper breakfast, before they before they get out onto the site, we can make sure that there we go. Sorry, we just lost you for a second. I got you back though. At any rate, if we open at 6, if we open at 6, we can have tradespeople come and eat in our breakfast and be off to their work site, to be on that time, to where they need to be. During the winter, we can have plow people come in and grab food, before they have to go clean out parking lots and stuff for the customers of the day. And then we can cater to, like, students at the high school that are right around the corner. We can have, like, a student special, so that we can have, students can, for like a couple of bucks, have, like, something with enough carbs or protein or whatever it is teenagers need to make it through to school, a school day, on their way to school. We can cater to the senior citizens that are all around the place, the retirees. If you can give a seniors discount and a good portions in the breakfast, good value for their good bang for their buck sort of thing, all the retirees will bring all of their friends for any excuse that they can to find a new place to eat breakfast at. And everybody, in my experience, in Owen Sound, and I imagine this is true in a lot of places around the world that are, especially that are rural, people will try you once. They'll give you they'll at least try you once, and if you can't impress them on their first try, they will tell their friends. You know what I'm saying? And so we got to make sure that when we hit the ground running, and that we have a good prices, good food, good portions, good experience all around.
I want to go there now.
I know, right?
I have like cereal for breakfast.
that would be ooh, yeah, we can have one like to have at some of those I want to say like hotels or and stuff. They'll have like those cereal dispensers, like cereal bars. We could even have like Saturday morning cartoon things where one of the things I envision in the place, we would have like a small stage and a projector and sound system and all that fun stuff. And one of the things that I would love to do is, as a community, have like theme nights where we like screen like community presentations of like movies. Like we have like within our area the Collingwood Film Company. It would be awesome if we could like get their permission to show their films at our location of various nights. We could have like Thursday night Critical Role live streamings, and various other events. It'd be like a part of me. Now this is stealing from another business idea I have, which codenamed Flagons and Dragons. Not a sports bar. It's a public house for geeks, nerds, romantics, and lovers of all ages. And it's to basically it's a sports bar for geeks. Where on the TVs you'd have like Critical Role playing, or Acquisitions Incorporated, or Magic the Gathering tournaments, or whatever it is, that sort of thing. But anyway, that's another idea for another time. I'm
really looking forward to Flagons and Dragons. Yes.
Right? And like I love the idea of like our servers being dressed in cosplay, like so.
Why not?
Right? But that's Flagons and Dragons. But Cafe Libre, kind of borrows from some of the ideas of like. It's kind of like Flagons and Dragons light in a way. Maybe that's possibly because I'm coming up with the idea and I'm just like, I have a theme in my life. I'm sure if we get more people involved, it'll change shape and it'll change form. But the underlying premise behind how we would do Cafe Libre remains the same, in that we would run it as a worker-directed, community-owned business. Where we would bring in people, where we could get first off, we bring in the people that are going to be the workers. These are going to be the dedicated members, so called. If we have 25 of them, I figure we would have enough people to get this business off the ground, in terms of having enough staff to be the cook staff, to be the wait staff. One of the other aspects of Cafe Libre is that we would have a bakery, where we would, because the location we're looking at is big enough that we have enough room. We could definitely put a bakery in the back, make our own bagels, make our own bread, make our own whatever it is that we're going to make, that we can then sell at Cafe Libre, for fun and profit. And we would then turn around and what's the word? Lost my train of thought. It's the ADHD thing again. Gotta love it. Do you remember what I was saying?
I was looking at the comments.
Oh, wonderful. Well, and actually, to that end, if there's anything relevant in the chat there that you want to bring up and
Well,
read,
if you'd like
uh,
to just go straight to the next thing,
yeah,
uh,
sure.
Andy brings up a question. Where did it go? Um, about patronage.
Ah,
Patronage is not instead of wages. So patronage is you get your wages normally. So you get paid per hour as per agreement.
true. And we make sure
But
that it's a living wage.
on top of that, because you are also part owner and it's like buying shares, you get patronage. So that's like dividends, like extra. It's the out of the profit you get some extra.
Yeah.
So it's not instead of wages at all. It's extra bonus.
Yeah, the way I always think of it is that wages kind of part of the cost of doing business. That isn't not wages aren't counted as profit.
They're
Yeah,
not
wages are
negotiable.
count.
You're not gonna
Yeah,
you're gonna get your wages
yeah,
first.
yeah. So everybody who's working at a job gets paid again a living wage. You know, something like $22 an hour, $18 an hour, whatever it is that that we need in order to survive. Right.
But so you remember how we don't like the the rich guy living in, miles away, the billionaire or whatever,
Hmm.
taking all the money. So what happens instead is patronage, is that you get the money.
Right.
And also there will be a plan to and the board will decide how much to give, but to donate some to community projects.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is what happens after we pay all the bills. So pay the
Truth.
bills, and then what's on top, instead of going to some rich guy, it goes to the workers because they own it.
Hmm.
I
Well,
hope.
and yeah, and because we're a mixed, like a multi-stakeholder cooperative, it will go to the workers based on how many shifts they've worked, how many hours they've worked. So if you work more hours, if you work more shifts, I should say, at the VAWMA business, then you will have more shares in the profits that we make. So the basically what patronage is just a share in the profits. When
Yeah,
you're a limited liability company, those shares in the profits are based on well the amount of shares that you have, and then the payout based on those shares are called dividend payouts, something to that effect. I may have mixed up some terms, but that's the basic idea.
but
Yeah, and patronage is just the cooperative way of paying out the profits. And again, if you're a worker, it's based on the amount of hours worked, and if you are a consumer, then it's based on the amount of money that you spend with us. So yeah. So the more money you spend with us, the
you
more
are
share
the
you get in the
owner.
profits. Yeah. Yeah, because and that really is it. We want to extend ownership to everybody, and so bringing it back to quickly to the Cafe Libre idea, we're going to have the 25 people that are going to be the dedicated members of Cafe Libre, and they're going to be the workers. But we're also going to have community members, of which I'm hoping to have hundreds, maybe even thousands of members that will all basically have a vested interest in uh, frequenting and using our business because the more money they spend with us, the more money they get back at the end of the year. Is basically it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That alone should be good incentive, I would imagine. Yeah.
And what they don't get, they know, is coming back. So some of it comes out as patronage, but some of it is going to go back into the community. That's also going to benefit them.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more obliquely. But
Yeah.
it's not going to the Bahamas. It's not going to the Caymans.
Well, and I mean
going
it
back home.
might, but if it goes to anywhere because we all decided to go on vacation to the Bahamas or to Cuba
Oh
or to
well, yeah.
something, you know.
Just because everyone got together and voted, we are going to the Caymans for vacation. Yep.
Right?
They're like
And
that.
that, yeah, and that's, I have to admit, one of the things that I've envisioned that we could do with VAWMA is something like using the power of group purchasing, bulk purchasing power, uh, and take advantage of the fact that there might be hundreds of us that all want to go on a vacation at approximately the same time. Well, why don't we just go like get a massive group discount, buy out an entire wing of a resort in like Cuba somewhere, and go for like book it out for a month, and then each of us can take 2 weeks, split the entire group into half. So half of us go to Cuba for 2 weeks for the first 2 weeks, and then the rest of us stay behind and keep everything working, and then the other half of us go to Cuba for the second 2 weeks. Well, the rest come back in nice and refreshed, and tanned, or burnt in my case, and uh, look after everything while we're in. Um, well, the rest or the other half are in Cuba.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I love that idea. Partly because I've always wanted to go to Cuba, and also because
I've heard people talk about it. They all just really loved it.
yeah, yeah, and so like that's the sort of idea that I would love to be able to pursue with VAWMA,
Hmm.
and to be able to open it up to our dedicated members. There we go here. Uh oh, there we go.
Hates me.
Hey, we got you back, and yeah, you know, so and really to get this ball going, we need like 25 people to get started. And realistically,
And I think when you say 25 people to get started, that was when you were doing all that math.
yeah, napkin math.
Yeah,
It might be able
I
to get
wasn't
away.
gonna say it, but yeah, you were telling me about how you were doing the napkin math, and you showed me the numbers, and my brain does not do numbers anymore. In theory, it could, but you were counting up what would it take to rent the place, and per month, how much for the food, how much
Hmm.
does it cost to bring in the flour to make the biscuits or whatever, like everything. You were napkin mathing all that stuff.
We
And
were
that's when
pricing things
that's
out.
why you say 25 people is
Yeah,
25 people are putting in how much?
it's like $20,000 a piece, spread out over 10
Or,
years. So it's two thousand
right.
dollars a year, or $167 approximately a month. Um,
This is all ringing a bell. I remember you explaining it to me.
mhm.
So $167 a month
Yep,
to be a a
a
worker member,
dedicated member,
dedicated member.
which is in this context a working member. So you're putting up money to create a business that will hire you at a living wage, and will when it makes a profit, allows you to have a share in that profit and allows you to vote on and stand for the board of directors. To for this whole thing to there are benefits to being a part of a dedicated member, and a lot of it has to do with control, as well as payout. And there are some people I think who might join who might have the $20,000 that they can put in up front, and they
Mhm.
can just do that. If you got
Yeah,
20,000 kicking around, you can put
yeah.
it in your 20,000,
You
and you
would
can just be
you
set for
get a
life.
bonus for that.
Maybe, Male.
Oh yeah, it would have to get a bonus for that. Yes, yes.
Well, or I mean, the bonus is they don't have to put 167 in every single month. Once they put
No,
it
no,
in.
they would get more than that. They would get more than
Yeah.
that.
But and I think like once, because I've read on some cooperatives that treat their buy-in, like the people that buy in, they also have like what is a really high buy-in, like around the equivalent of like 30,000 or 50,000 American dollars in their local currency, and they treat that as you're given like a number of years first and foremost to buy in. And once they extend to you the invitation to buy in, and once you've bought in, as you work through the years, that money that you've bought in is treated as your retirement fund. And so that money gets invested, and when you retire 20, 30, 40 years later, for having worked in this cooperative, I can't remember if it's in Spain or Italy. I think it's in Italy. Um, the buy-in that you put in, that 50,000 US dollars, originally, that's been accumulating and growing over the years as they've been investing and been using that, as part of the company. That becomes the basis for your retirement fund. So when you retire, all the money that you put in comes out with interest, with like
But
as,
you
as a
would get
pension
more
sort of thing.
interest if you paid 20,000 or whatever up front. You
Hmm.
would accumulate more interest on that
Hmm.
than
Yeah.
someone who's slowly paying.
Yeah, and that's something that is probably a little bit beyond my brain at this point.
Mhm.
Um, but
And then you want to get a hire a professional to deal with, because that's, when you get into money like that,
yeah,
you need to
and
hire
but
a
we,
professional.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, we. So those are the dedicated members that are buying in, and possibilities of using our initial investment as retirement funds later on. Like that's not something that we're like when we originally start. We're going to be using the $20,000 that we're investing to as seed money to start. And if somebody has $20,000 that they can put in initially right off the bat, that's $20,000 that we don't have to go to a credit union or a bank for. That's
Yeah.
$20,000 that we now have access to, that we can now use to go buy, a deep fryer or a grill or a hood for all the stuff, a vent, some stainless steel countertops, whatever it is, and then from there, we collect all the money that we're gathering. The $20,000 one person was able to put in, and the 167 a month that I'm able to chip in, along with everybody else, and we collect that money and we go to, the banks, the credit unions, other actual unions, and we say, hey, look, we've got this pile of money that we're going to invest in our business, but it's not enough. For us to do it right now, but we got 10% down. Can you guys front us the other 90%? And then, once we got the money that we need to get started, we buy all the equipment, we lease the space, we put up the signs, and we start business. And then we start making money to pay the money back, basically. And we don't have to pay all the money back up front. We'll have a number of years to pay the money back. So every year, when we've hit that sweet spot where we've what's the word? Where we've met our payments for the year, the stuff that we make on top of that then becomes, to my mind, that becomes like our profit. That we can pay out to our members, and so if we can do this really well, where we have our 25 members at the beginning, plus we have our community members, which is the other half of what we want to do, where a community member buy-in is like $300, and Originally, I'd been thinking that $300 would be sort of like recurring, like annually. I'm not too sure if we can legally do that. If we can make a continued buy-in, so that's fine. We'll just have like a one-time, like $300. You can have a year to pay it off, so it's $25 or $25 a month to be a community member. But at the end of the year, you are now a full-on community member, and then as a community member, you can choose to. Well, as a community member, you get patronage based on using our buying stuff at, in this case, example, Cafe Libre. So the more breakfasts you have with your friends, the more money you spend at Cafe Libre. So every time you spend $50 with Cafe Libre, we give you a share of patronage, and it's topped up, or we just continue to roll it over. So if you spend $55 in one sitting, because you brought you and all your friends to have breakfast, then the next time you come to Cafe Libre, you would only need to spend $45 in order to get to the $50 mark, sort of thing there, and you would have gotten a share of patronage, which at the end of the year, if we've made a profit, we've made more money than we owe, then you would get a slice of that profit based on how many shares of patronage you've earned over the year by buying breakfast with us. So we've got our community members, of which I would hope to have hundreds of people that would be invested in our business, that would be part owners in our business, and would get something back every time they used our business, and would have the right again to participate with the sociocracy circles that we would use to form the policies that govern our business, that shape and give the aesthetics for what our businesses will look like, sound like, feel like, taste like. I don't know. What are your tastes like?
I think you can vote on the food, right?
I think it make sense. Give the customers what they want or think they want. And maybe not change everything, but if the customers are saying, hey, the seniors really want mashed potatoes instead of French fries, with their breakfast. Okay, sure, we'll add that to the menu. Why not? Hurts nobody.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah.
Always having the community own it instead of some guy in the city, or maybe not even in the country.
Right. Oof. That's a thought. Oh. So that's Cafe Libre. So if we can bring 25 people together, and again, that's 25 people chipping in like a less than $200 a month. And that gives us enough people to staff the place, because we're gonna need people behind the counter. We're gonna need people behind the grill. We're gonna need people,
You're talking dedicated members. Dedicated members are 200, less than 200 a month.
Yeah.
Consumer members are the people who buy the coffee and eat the mashed potatoes.
Community members.
Community members. They pay
25.
How much? 25. Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
Yep, 25 a month, and they just pay that for the year, or they've got a year to pay the $300 off. They can pay it all at once, pay it up front, or they can take a year to pay it off. We don't care so long as you're continuing to pay. And once you've paid in your full $300, then you are a full member in good standing, and you won't be on probationary rights. And probation would basically just be you've got all the rights as a member so long as you're paid up, to this month, sort of thing, until you reach 300. And if you're not paid up, maybe you can't vote. Maybe you can't, set it on there. And, I don't know. Well, we'll have to talk to a lawyer and find out, who specializes in cooperative law, to find out what's been done before, what is reasonable, what the law says, because I'm sure the law says something about that.
That won't be hard. It shouldn't be too hard to find.
No, no, no.
And yeah, there will be people who have done it before.
Yeah,
You can find that.
yeah, and that's I keep learning that like Guelph, which is like an hour and a half away, is got so many different worker directed cooperatives and community
Mm,
cooperatives
mm.
that work down there. That I need to do a fact finding mission. Get on the Ghost, which is
I
the
used to
Guelph Owen Sound Transit, down to Guelph and just do a fact finding mission
I
one of
used
these
to
days.
do my piano lessons down in Guelph. I would drive to Guelph and go to this beautiful. It was some sort of co-op. This was a few years ago. So yes, had beautiful food and tea and everything
Mm,
for lunch on my way home. And yeah, it seemed like they had a little sort of community there. It was great.
yeah. So many great things. I
So
think
we
we
can do it.
probably
It's
yes
doable.
we
It's
yes we
doable.
can.
It's the way things, and it's what I was trying to get across with my, because how I'm into archaeology and
Mm,
history of the Bible and everything, and it just is the way that humans are like can operate when we're at our best is in a community where we help each other,
yeah.
and there's not a few people who are so much better than everybody else, and they decide everything for everybody else. They make bad decisions. You cannot make good decisions about stuff you don't know anything about. Like, rich
Mm,
people are always saying, oh, tips for living while you're poor is buy in bulk, and that's just not a thing you can do when you're poor. Like, where are you
yeah.
gonna put it? How are you gonna buy a year's worth of something when you don't have enough for this month? It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. We cannot have rich people telling everybody how to live, and this is why it is so good to have structures where the community can own the thing instead
Yeah.
and decide how it works.
It's not a guarantee that things will be better, but it is a promise to put the tools in place to help people who can see things that are not good to enable them to make them better.
Mm-hmm.
It's a promise to give you the tools you need to make the changes necessary to make things better. I
It
can't
sort of
guarantee that you
depends
can make
who
things better.
participates.
Yeah,
If a,
yeah.
a bunch of jerks participate and ruin everything for everything else, but we try to
Nightmares.
find ways to prevent that from happening so that a small minority can't hijack things for everyone.
And I think as long as we make a condition of being a member of VAWMA a commitment to Principle One, open and voluntary membership, where we don't discriminate against people based on immutable characteristics. So long as you're committed to like that, and applying that to people that you as an individual may not necessarily be comfortable with, or you know, so long as you're committed to like living and let living, you can be a part of what we're doing here. I think as long as you're committed to Principle One, I think we can do a lot to weed out problems that might
Yes, I think
show
so.
themselves. Yeah,
And there, like we were saying, there are other people who've done this, who've learned, done mistakes and learned. We can learn from them.
yeah. And I think we'll just end it with a note from the comment section from Andy. I think now more than ever, people are receptive to the idea or to co-op structure and the idea of keeping money within the community. Want to invest in your community? Become a community member. Absolutely. And for my money, one of the other aspects of being a community member that's a highlight for me, if I were a community member, is the ballot that we would send out at the end of the year, where we ask our members of VAWMA, hey, we made X amount of millions this year. 80% of that is going of the surplus. That's beyond the bills and beyond the savings into the future investments and stuff. So 80% of what we're making is going into patronage, so it's being sent back to you in the form of checks, but 20% is going back into the community in the form of community investment. Where do you want us to invest? And then people that are members of VAWMA get a chance to then tick off on a box however many different community projects they want to invest in. Members of the community, members of VAWMA, can make propositions to the board and to VAWMA as a whole at our general meet gatherings that we would have quarterly throughout the year, and people can present ideas and say, hey, why don't we do this with the money, or why don't we do that with the money? And then at the end of the year, we send it to our community members and say, hey, where do you want us to put the money based on all the suggestions that we've had? And things get funded or they don't based on voter participation. I don't know. That appeals to me.
Yeah. I love it.
Probably,
I love it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is the good stuff. Rebecca, let me throw you on the spot and ask you if there's any websites or any interesting things, any YouTube channels that have piqued your interest in the past week that you would like to plug. It does not have to be co-op related. It can be about rocks, it can be about trees, it can be about life, the universe, and everything.
Well, the past week I've been watching a lot of Your Dinosaurs Are Wrong, which is always fun.
That does sound like fun.
There's a channel, and they're migrating their old stuff onto their channel and also still making new stuff. It's so adorable. And I love always Nick Zentner, who does geology videos about Northwest US, which has really fascinating geology with, subduction, but not just subduction. There's also stuff going up and down and around, like tickety tickety tick, and then it has a very small earthquake that you can't really feel, but every 14 years it's like there's a little small earthquake that's going around. It is so cool. And he really understands how geology is exciting, and you can tell he's excited about it. I love that. And a presenter. So that's what I've been watching lately.
I've recently found. Well, let's see. Let me find in one of hundreds of open tabs that I have here. Cooperatives First is a channel that I found recently that I'm slowly going back and checking out their different things that they present. They're a Canadian cooperative YouTube channel, and they've got all sorts of different resources where they highlight a bunch of First Nations cooperative efforts, some in the Anishinaabe nations up in that are part of Manitoulin. I'm pretty sure. Nice. So I highly recommend, if anybody's watching this, check them out for things that are non-co-op related. I have been there's one site that I've been. It's kind of like my. It's one of several websites that I go to that are not political or co-op related, and that's Wintergarten Garten. Anyway, this guy made this marble machine that plays music. And he made one out of wood originally, which got millions upon millions of views and blew up on the internet, became internet history. Yeah, and he started creating another marble machine that was made out of metal, that was going to play music and was going to be really, really amazing. But he learned that the way he was engineering things, the way he was building the machine, brilliant imagination, brilliant vision. But at the end of the day, all of his methods of achieving his end goals were just foundationally not going to be able to produce what it is that he wanted. So his second project failed, and I got to watch it in real time. And now he's back. Never say never, because you can't keep a good idea down. He's now back. He's slowly working on the third iteration of this marble machine. I forget what he's calling it. The previous one was Marble Machine X, our Marble Machine X died, but the new Marble Machine. Yeah, and it's like a metaphor for as I've been working on the VAWMA design, it's don't reinvent the wheel. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. And
But I
uh,
mean, you keep experimenting and adding,
yeah,
and then if it doesn't work, you retreat and reassess and try again.
so
That's how
true,
you learn
so
to play
true.
an instrument, right? When you're practicing, I've found that's a good way to look at what practicing is for, which some people don't really understand. They think you just play it over and over until you want to die. But no, it's you're supposed to reassess and try again, and then eventually you get it, and that's the point. You have to keep at it.
Truth. And I love it all. So I think that's probably a good place to land it. Posting or plugging other people's channels.
Mhm.
And for everybody who stuck around, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you all. Please hit the subscribe button and the like button. And leave a comment. If you think our ideas are full of holes, tell us where. We'd love to know, love to hear about it. If you think that our ideas are sounding pretty good and right on, I still want to hear about it. Encourage me, please. And for everybody else out there, thank you once again. You're awesome. Good game. We'll see you all next week as I turn on the music.
Bye bye.
And I go to the outro screen. Bye.